Elon Musk sparks fury after thwarting a Ukrainian attack on Russia. Well, okay guys, welcome to Reacts. Another day, another reaction, and you already know what we're gonna react to. I'm gonna see it. Let's get with this news. Take it away.
At least one person has died after Russia carried out a missile strike on President Zelensky's hometown in central Ukraine. More than 50 people are believed to be injured. Well, our military analyst, Sean Bell, is here with me now. Thanks very much for joining us, Sean. And of course, we know this isn't the first time that Volodymyr Zelensky's hometown has been hit by Russian strikes. What do we know about what happened in these latest ones?
This war has been going on for quite a while now. What, 2 years now? Man.
It wasn't just his hometown. These attacks attacked across the whole of Ukraine. But as you say, Kryvyi Rih, some of the video footage here of the wreckage, President Zelensky's hometown, there were 10 buildings completely destroyed. One policeman lost his life. We understand at the moment there's 52 injured, but that number keeps rising. And you see by the scale of the rubble, it's quite likely that we're going to see this rise further. It wasn't just in Kryvyi Rih, though. Also overnight, the southern area of Odessa, for the fifth night out of 6, was being attacked. 16 of the drones were shot down of the 20, but inevitably some get through, and they were also scattered across the south as well. Up in Sunny, there were another 3 people injured in an attack up there, and then in Kherson, there was 3 civilian deaths and 4 injured. It's been a very deadly night of attacks across the whole of Ukraine.
And a rather interesting development that's triggered some anger in Kyiv today. Remarks from Elon Musk, owner of Tesla, owner of X, formerly Twitter and the like. What's he said? And
if a country in Middle East or any part of the other world except for the West, if they are in war, they are cut off from the whole world. They are actually is in war, you know. They don't have access to anything. You don't hear about them other than the war in that country. But with the Ukraine, I thought that everything was getting better because their football team is still playing international friendlies. Ukrainian people are still traveling around the world making YouTube videos. I really can't make anything out of it because that wasn't the case for Iraq. That wasn't the case for Afghanistan. That wasn't the case for Syria. I don't know. It's so confusing. What do you guys think?
Well, upset.
This is an interesting story because a biography of Elon Musk is being released on Tuesday, and there's some of the excerpts have come from it. And one of the things that came out, there was suggestions that he had turned off his Starlink system and therefore thwarted a Ukrainian drone attack on the Black Sea Fleet. Now, the date of this is not entirely clear from the clip, but It does sound as if it was from last year. Now, overnight.
Well, how a civilian is getting involved? An American civilian is getting involved in Ukrainian-Russia war using his technology. Wasn't he in Ukraine trying to provide technology, internet for free for the government, and also to repair the technology where it has been damaged by the war? And now we hear that he's getting himself involved in this war.
Elon Musk has come up on social media and said that actually the system wasn't activated in that region of the world at the time, so he couldn't have turned it off. But what he does remember is not agreeing to turn it on, which is, I know it sounds nuanced, but it is slightly different because his company SpaceX is not a military company, and they don't.
That's what they say, but SpaceX doesn't hire anybody apart from USA.
Want to be complicit in some sort of acts of war. What's also interesting, though, is the context here, because Musk has also been apparently in regular contact with President Putin throughout the war, which obviously raises concerns. Now, it's worth noting Starlink, which we're seeing some of the satellites launched here, is a communications and internet company. It operates around the world. It's very satellite intensive. Eventually, there'll be 42,000 of these satellites ringed around the world, but they provide internet comms, about 1.5 million subscribers. Why it's relevant for Ukraine is because they need GPS to guide their drones to their target.
Exactly, that's what I was talking about.
And for the Russian military, it's not difficult to jam those drones.
Okay.
If you use Starlink, it'll be a lot more difficult for those drones to be jammed, and it provides some secure comms as well.
A really interesting story coming out of Cuba, which on the face of it just sounds interesting, but actually in the wider context of the war could tell you quite a lot about Vladimir Putin's manpower needs when it comes to the army, that potentially he's sourcing mercenaries in Cuba. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, it's interesting how this extends around the world, doesn't it? Havana in Cuba, they've dismantled a people trafficking network. And part of that, Russians are trying to recruit Cubans to fight for Russia in Ukraine. And so it's clearly a mercenary activity. We're seeing some mercenary footage from the Wagner Group.
I mean, like what America did with all the other countries that they went on a war with.
And it's worth, as you say, recalling that the Russians were heavily dependent on mercenaries for the fighting. But of course, they also presented a massive threat to President Putin when Yevgeny Prigozhin marched on Moscow. But also, the mercenaries are not professionally trained, and therefore they've led to a massive war crimes, which is why President Putin's been indicted in the International Criminal Court. Now, Russia's trying to recruit 140,000 soldiers by the end of the year.
Does he actually care? So whenever you guys, USA, UK, and all these countries, like France, including France, does these kind of things, they never have to answer to anyone. I'm not justifying Russia or Putin's activities, but rules should be for everyone. I haven't seen any US president on a trial for the wars they led.
Trying to recruit migrants across Central Asia. By all accounts, they're being offered fast-track citizenship and cash for doing that. But in Cuba, they've arrested 17 people as part of this people trafficking. The ultimate, if they're found guilty, then they could actually end up facing the death penalty. And it's all part of Putin's decree last year that actually they can recruit foreigners to go and fight for Russia. But it just shows the woeful state of the Russian military, that they can't do another mobilization, but they are recruiting mercenaries from around the world.
Yeah, and of course, the quality of the soldier that's turning up on the battlefield. Sean, thank you.
Well, the war is never fair. I don't know what's happening, and a billionaire businessman getting involved in this. This war has been going on for too long now. It's 2 years. Now, they have to find a solution now. There should be a result. Ukrainian people have long suffered. The soldiers have long suffered. War is never good. But what do we know? So that was that, people. If you like my videos, do comment, like and share, and stay humble. Namaste.